About 5 years ago on my main channel, I actually had an Amazon ads expert that came in and shared a lot of insights and experiences and gave a lot of great tips to my audience. And his name was Marco Moutinho. And shortly after, he did another live presentation and it went really, really well. But then Marco just disappeared. Well, honestly, he didn't disappear. I've actually kept in contact with he and his wife, Natasha. And in the background, they've been building a company called the Urban Writers, which is a great resource for writers and self-publishers out there. They do everything from ghostwriting to cover design to editing and proofreading. There's so much that they do. Well, last year, they had reached out to me about a new resource they were putting together for authors called Dibbly Create. Now, you've probably heard me talk about them because they are the sponsors of the channel. They are not the sponsors of this video. I wanted to sit down and chat with Marco about Dibbly Create. It is a cloud-based word processing system, and it actually has AI integration. Now, before you click away and you jump off of here, just hear me out for just a moment. It's not entirely AI-based. It's just AI-assisted for writers, getting it to where you optimize your full process. In fact, we do this deep dive into Dibbly Create, what led Marco from doing Amazon ads to the urban writer to, of course, developing Dibbly Create, and of course, the state of artificial intelligence in the world of self-publishing. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the interview with Marco Moutinho. Marco, it has been a number of years since my viewers last saw you. You were doing Amazon ads and such, so I'm sure it's kind of shocking to see you show up in this capacity. What led you from doing Amazon ads to now being the mastermind and founder of Dibbly Create?
It's actually a very interesting question. By the way, Dale, amazing to be back. I know we haven't done this in a long time. And, when I was doing the ads thing, at the same time, I was running the Urban Writers. So it happened actually, I think, maybe like about a month apart. I started the Urban Writers in April of 2018. And then the course, I started working on it in May of 2018. And ultimately, I had to make a decision of where is my focus going to go? Am I going to continue with the ads course? Am I going to continue, being the ads guy, the Amazon ads guy? Or am I going to shift focus and just go all in, go all in on the Urban Writers, and then that's all I focus on. And at the same time, I was still publishing. So I had these three things, and it was just, I've learned, there was a lot of hard lessons up to where I got to in 2018, and focus was like a really big one. And it's like the thing that you focus on most is the thing that's going to get all your attention, and you're going to get much better results. And so ultimately what happened is I decided, okay, I'm going to go all in on the Urban Writers. I'm going to pause publishing, and I'm going to pause the ads. So that's what led to that decision. And now today, Dibbly Create, it stemmed from a few things. So, we've been operating the Urban Writers for 2018, it's 2023, 5 years. And we've learned a lot, right? Dibbly Create stemmed from a need to have a much better process when it came to creating content, specifically books. And so through the experience that we gained over the past 5 years, we've realized that there's a better system and there's a better way to write books. And that's how Dibbly Create came to be. Yeah.
We're going to obviously dive deep into Dibbly Create and your thought process behind it. Let's focus a little bit more on what exactly is Dibbly Create and why does it remove so much friction from a writer's workload?
Great question. So Dibbly Create it's essentially a replacement for Google Docs. It's kind of a mix of Notion. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Notion, yeah, Dale, but it's a mix of Notion and Google Docs. And we've really built it in a way that makes it very seamless, very easy to pump out content, book content, really any form of content. But we've designed it where writing books in it is very straightforward. You can export it, have a published product ready to go. You don't have to go anywhere else. We've integrated very neat tools, a lot of collaboration. So we know most book projects isn't a one-person thing. It usually requires, at the very least, someone coming in to read it, right? Maybe to proofread it, edit your content. And so we've built it with collaboration in mind. So from the ground up, it's highly collaborative. Invite as many collaborators as you want, work together on it. And so we've realized that a lot of these other tools, which we were using Google Docs originally, it worked, but there's better ways. And so that's where Dibbly Create comes in. And we've created a better way to work with this type of content, to create books.
You guys have been working at it for a while, because I know I talked to you and Natasha last year about this concept. I don't think you even had it tied down as far as to what it was going to be called yet. How long had you been developing this tool, and what were some of the challenges that you faced as you started to build this out? Because obviously this launched back on August 28th, and we've seen huge growth even since then.
Yeah, it's, even so officially we started last year in September, like actually implementing, writing the code, building the interface, building everything out started last year, September. But prior to that, there was this whole process that led to actually starting creating the application. And it was a very long process. There was a lot of research. What technology are we going to use? How are we going to build it? What collaborative features are we going to need? So there was a lot of planning, a lot of hashing out. And it did take quite some time. But, interestingly enough, shortly after we started, there was that huge AI boom. And ChatGPT came out. I think it was the first week of November in 2022. I think it was around that time. It was sometime in November. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the internet was crazy. And, we were fortunate to already start Dibbly Create because AI is an amazing assistant to you as a writer. Amazing. And it's always been part of our plan, but it wasn't going to be this early. But it kind of forced our hand at that point. And so we started integrating it in December. Yeah, in December, shortly after ChatGPT launched. And it was interesting to see how things can just shape up really quick. Your direction changes. And so there was a lot of buildup. There was a lot of, planning and hashing out in details. And then again, things can pop up out of nowhere that just completely changes how you build something or the direction you take. And so, yeah, it's been a fun journey. For sure.
I think Natasha had reached out to me via DM, and she'd asked me what my take was on AI. And I think at the time I was, I wouldn't say I was anti-AI, but I was a little reluctant. Mm-hmm. So if there is somebody that's listening to this podcast that has some reluctance or even resistance to artificial intelligence, what kind of advice could you offer to them? And also, how did you develop Dibbly Create to address some of their reluctance and resistance to AI?
Absolutely. So I think the way you should look at AI as a tool, just like any other tool, like a formatting tool that you might use, or example, Create, where you write your book, a word processor. It's just a tool. It's there for you to make your life easier, make you more productive, more efficient. And that's how I see AI. I don't see it as replacing you. AI can't be creative, number one. AI only knows everything we've ever fed it, right? It can't go beyond that. Sure, it's very good at pattern recognition, analysis, and writing like it understands, because really it's just statistics in the background. And so I think what people are scared of is that it's going to replace you. And so I want nothing to do with it. I don't want anything to do with AI. And I think that's wrong, because it is really just a tool, and it's a very, very good tool. And it can take your productivity from where you're at up to 10, even 20x in certain scenarios where you're producing content so much faster. and it's your work. So AI is like, for me, from my perspective, it's your assistant. It's there to help you. It's there to assist you get your content out, help you with brainstorming, helping you with writer's block, for example, stuck and not sure what to write next. AI's there. It's like, let me help you. And that's the shift that people need to take, is like, it's scary, right? Because it's writing all this content, but put it to work for you. It's a tool. Leverage it. That's how I see AI.
How do you give me some examples of how I would use AI, not only through just Dibbly Create, but just in general?
So, I mean, there's many use cases. So like brainstorming is one, right? Let's say you have an idea for your next book. And you're not sure what direction to take. You do some research. Okay, hey, I need some help maybe coming up with some titles. You reach out, whether it's ChatGPT, you can just start typing in and start having this like natural conversation. Like, hey, I need some book title ideas on this topic. This is a research material that I've collected. Can you help me, based off this information? Start giving you some ideas. Okay, now I need some characters, right? I have a character who's this. This is like the main character. These are supporting characters. Can you help me hash out their descriptions and really refine who they are, who their personality traits are? And then AI is going to help you hash those things out. And now it's going to get, really what it's doing is, it's not only helping you, but it's allowing your creative juices to start flowing, because it's giving you this information, you're consuming it, and now you're like, oh, wow, yeah, like we can do this, or we can do this, or you know what, let's try this, right? So it's just a way to get your creativity flowing. So you're not stuck and you're not doing all the thinking. You're allowing your creativity to flow. And that's just like one scenario. There's so many ways you can leverage it. And we can go on super deep dive if you want onto this, but it's really a way to get your creativity flowing, to get you writing faster, to get you to the part that you enjoy the most, which is building the content, building your worlds, depending on the type of content you work on. It just allows that creativity to flow.
Nice. Now, you're not required. Let's say, for instance, I've got somebody who wants to go and use Dibbly Create for just the word processor side of things. Let's say they don't want to use the AI. Are they required to use that? Can they shut it off?
Yeah, great question. So we've built in our AI tool, our AI assistant is called Kip. And Kip is integrated into Create. And we've built a way to disable Kip completely. So let's say you have a project and you're working with multiple collaborators and you want nobody using Kip in your project. You're a button press away, and now Kip is gone and there's no way for anyone to interact. So we have built these things because we understand, there are people who's like, I want nothing to do with AI, and we respect that. So here is that for you. Yes. So you can disable Kip.
Nice. That is a really good feature. And that's something that I really wanted to relay to a lot of people. So that way they can understand. It's like, look, we understand your reluctance and resistance to something like this, and maybe go at your own pace. I had a conversation with a mutual friend, SD Houston, Shannon. And Shannon, of course, I introduced her to you. She'd brought up a really good point and a concern that she'd brought up with you. And I figure, let's go ahead and address this now. Are we, when we create content within Dibbly Create, are we training AI with our content, or is that strictly private use only?
So with Create and with Kip, we don't use, so any content that you write in the Create platform is not used for training at all.
Nice.
Now, we do have an idea later on where if you want to train Kip to understand your voice to help write like you could opt in at that point. But that's not something we'll be introducing. And when we do, it'll be completely on you whether you want to opt in to have Kip learn how to write or sound like you. But yeah, no, none of the content is used for any training at all. It's all yours. So in terms of privacy and AI training, you don't have to worry when you're using Create.
I think a lot of people are probably breathing a sigh of relief because they just don't want their stuff to be taken without their permission. So this is really interesting. Absolutely. So we've obviously tapped into a lot of what Kip has to offer. Maybe mention some of the features that you're most excited about that you currently have. And of course, what's on your roadmap in the very near future? Because I noticed something that was grayed out that said art that's available there.
Yes. So We have many ways to interact with Kip. And my favorite way to interact with Kip is these like highly specialized tools that we've built, and we call it Kip Generate. And essentially what it is take some input and it produces output. So for example, one of our tools, which I probably feel like it's definitely my favorite because every time I use it, I'm like blown away by the results, is our outline generator. So you pass in a couple of ideas, and with the outline generator, you can be like as specific as you want to be or as vague, and it'll apply that to the end result. And so what's really cool is with a few prompts, you're getting an outline, and it supports both nonfiction and fiction. We use 2 different strategies for both of them because they're very different, content. And so what happens is you pass in that input and you get this like beautifully well orchestrated outline that you can just take, and whether you use it to actually write the book or just to refine your ideas, touch up on, or get that creative juices flowing, it's such a great tool. The results I'm still impressed every time I'm using it. I'm like, wow, this is insane. And you're looking at, like, for a nonfiction, about anywhere between like 5,000 to 8,000 words generated of really solid material that you can use for your content. And then fiction can go as high as 14,000 words because it's going very in depth to the characters, the locations, the tropes, the plot. Like it's very, very detailed. So that's one of my favorite tools. I would say the other, so there's the description generator, which essentially you pass in your entire book and it gives you a highly copywritten description, whether it's a blurb or a description for a nonfiction book. It does both. That one's really, and it's like great tool, really easy to use, and it's ready. Like the output that you get is really, really good, on point, and it understands your entire book. I think that's one of the craziest parts is we're able to consume. Doesn't matter how big the book is, we can consume that content and give you something that's highly relevant versus some generic description that maybe it uses the title or a brief description of what the book is about. So that one's a very, very cool tool. We have our research where it's going into Amazon and it's essentially taking the customer reviews, analyzing those reviews, and giving you feedback on what customers like, what they don't like, how you can tailor your book to either be better, to get that competitive edge, right? So it's really analyzing the content and giving you some really, really great insights. Now, in terms of that, we're going to be adding Google Trends, as well as potentially Goodreads. So we're looking at Goodreads, integrating that.
Wow.
So there's a lot coming there. Summarizer is the other big one, and essentially kind of like the description, it consumes the content and gives you a summary and key takeaways. And we're also adding allowing it to give you blog and social media post ideas from that content. So taking that content, and here's some ideas to create other content from it. So that's going to be part of it. We just launched actually the YouTube link. So you pass the YouTube link and it'll summarize and give you key takeaways of that.
You surprised me with that one the other day. You're like, hey, give me a link to one of your videos. And you're like, is this accurate? And I'm like, oh my gosh, it is insanely accurate.
It's so good. Yeah. And here's the thing with AI. Like I said, like all these things, they're tools. They're there to assist you to increase your productivity, right? Imagine you take a book and you have to go through thousands of reviews and analyze what everybody's saying. Like it's a ton of
overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anybody wants to do that. But if you really want to stand out, that is a great way to do that, is to analyze what people are saying about your competition. And so with AI, you can do that in minutes. Just like that.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. So, you had me send a book to you, and it was so crazy the output that you'd sent back, because you're like, hey, check this out. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, the competitive edge portion. Share a little bit about the competitive edge portion, because that part got me the most excited.
Yes. So So what it does is it analyzes the reviews that customers are leaving. And based off that, it's going to show you, this is how you can stand out because this is what these customers want. This is the problems that these customers are facing in this content. And this is how you can solve it. This is how you can differentiate, and this is how you can do better. And this is real data. This is not like something from thin air. This is not like if you go to ChatGPT, it's not real data. This is like going in Amazon, getting what people are actually saying, and then here, this is how to do better. And that's essentially what that competitive edge is. Yeah, it's a great addition. Absolutely.
This is pretty insane, man. I'm excited about everything about Dibbly Create and everything you guys have on the horizon, but I think we're getting down to the last of our 20 minutes here. Maybe we can get you to come back and talk a little bit more about what we plan for the very near future. I have been cranking out a lot of words in Dibbly Create because it's just been so fun, so intuitive. And dude, one of the most fun things is giving Kip a character and having Kip portray that character and then having a conversation with that character. That to me,
oh, that's amazing.
It's hair raising. It is like, I'm like, what? I'm like, it's like a real person that is responding to you. And so that really helps out from a creative standpoint. But rather than me gushing about things, let's start to wrap things up with my final question for you, which is, what advice do you have for aspiring authors and self-publishers out there?
I think the biggest advice, and this really applies anywhere in life, is whatever you're doing, whatever you're building, whatever you're working on, don't give up. Keep putting out content. Keep doing your thing. Keep publishing. Because all it takes is one moment of either an aha moment or some type of success to completely change your life. So my biggest advice is, do not give up. There is plenty of opportunity. There's so much content that you can publish on. There's so much opportunity on the market. So don't be afraid. Just keep publishing, hash out your ideas, build that content, and please do not be afraid of using AI. Please. It is one of the best tools, if not the best tool on the market today that everybody should be leveraging. Absolutely.
You've been listening to the Self-Publishing with Dale podcast. Visit us at selfpublishingwithdale.com for more information on how you can level up your self-publishing business. Also, check out our growing video-on-demand service, chock full of free and premium content, when you head over to theselfpublishinghub.com. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a review on your preferred podcasting platform. We thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.